Lucky to have you. I'm sorry about that thing with the Tesseract. I just couldn't help myself. I'm a trickster.
I'm a trickster. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Loki episode 4 spoiler review. And you know what that means. I am the podcaster of mischief, the great and powerful Travis Snell, and I'm joined by
Mr. Minutes, Kirklin Patzer.
And finally,
I'm the come with us, Taylor Field.
so we got a big episode. If you've seen this episode, you know what I'm talking about. But just a few plugs to get out of the way. Taylor, where can they find us on the interwebs?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerse.cast is our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook. And for exclusive content, where can they find all that ad-free stuff, Travis?
You got two options now. If you want just the episodes, you could head over to, and you're an Apple user, head over and use the Emerald Access one. So that's all cool. But if you want everything else on Patreon, the After 9 access, sending questions, behind the scenes stuff, we would offer that on Emerald, but you can't. It's just a feed. So go over to Patreon. I would say that is the better option. You get ad-free, exclusive early episodes and all the tiers and whatnot I just mentioned there. So yeah, thank you very much for supporting us. As we announced today, we still got one more day in the month, but it's been our biggest month again. You guys raised by 69% last time I checked the stats. It's even gone up more, but yeah, 69% from the last month. So.
All right,
he's muted.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say, like, I can hear you, Kirkland, but
Am I making noise?
you're making noise. No, I can hear you. It's fine.
There's no like ambient noise.
Good killing time, guys. Good,
there,
good.
he's back. He's back.
Okay.
We're up at like 8 views right now. Everyone's tuning in.
Hey
right
yo.
now.
Oh, everybody is. I'm sure excited about this episode. So, as always, just find Facebook and Twitter, like Taylor said. You can find everything we do in the description down below. Is everything our podcast network, our Discord, where you can find everything, the video and audio. Please give us a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. That helps a lot. And yeah, we're going to be doing obviously the next 2 episodes of Loki. We've got a lot of movie reviews coming up. Black Widow's next week. We have some other fun stuff for recording. So, Taylor Field, non-spoiler thoughts. What did you think of Loki episode 4? Which obviously it's hard because a lot of big stuff happens in there. But did you like this one?
I liked it a lot. And again, like, I am so happy that we'll get to that. But I'm happy for a reason.
Oh god. Oh my god. He almost right away was gonna spoil something just because he wants to glow, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
But I didn't spoil it. So we're safe. I love the episode. And again, like, my main go-to is just, God, the score is so good. Holy shit. Like, there's just certain peak moments in these episodes that just build up to like climactic reveal. And just that main score that kicks in is so damn awesome. I think it's my favorite MCU score of all time. I love it.
Oh my god.
I'm not even kidding. Of all time. It's so good. It has such a good build up and hype to it. It is awesome. But yeah, I just think overall the episode was great. We got much more development with the characters and much more expansion on like the story with Sylvie and again with Loki. And again, we kind of got to see things kind of progress in the direction that has a lot of left turns that you don't expect, and a lot of I would say like questions were answered in this episode, but I've got way more, which is great. And it's definitely leading to that. I mean, we're at episode 4 now, so obviously we have 2 more episodes to go. And I feel like where we're at now is like great, because this feels like a penultimate episode, to be honest. But I'm so happy we have 2 more. I feel like we're gonna get a huge chunk of good content in the next week, and then episode 6 will either be like kind of just like cooling off the jets from everything we've just experienced, or it'll be even bigger and better. So this episode was it was great. It's all coming together.
Kirkland Patzer, did it come together for you?
I am unsure on how I feel about like
Okay.
it's interesting because like when I look at the episode as a whole, it's really good, but I felt like I got taken aback by like maybe certain performance things, or like maybe certain actors just weren't delivering it for me, so it kind of took me out of it. And then like something like that would happen, and then it would lead into something really big, and then I'm like, I feel like I should be a lot more blown away right now, but maybe I was just put off about whatever it might be. I don't know. It was really strange.
All in the game says seeming like those complaining last week's episode should be happy with this one. Not Kirklin Patzer,
Not
you know.
Kirkland
No.
at all.
No, not at all. He's more complaining.
Funny timing there. Yeah, no, but like overall, I think it was really. I'm just excited to dive into more specifics with you guys. But talking spoiler free right now, 100% agree with Taylor. I don't know if it's my favorite score in the entire MCU. I'm not like a big score guy, but it's just phenomenal. Like just even like that main theme that comes in every time, it just gets me so hyped, and that's just been a running theme. You know, no pun intended there, but like a running theme amongst the MCU shows is just like all of like the intro songs are just so hyped for me. But so the score is phenomenal, and I just really love like the set design in the show. There's so many cool like what did you break right there?
He just broke his little like transition pad thing, like Loki.
Oh,
Is that a Canucks cup?
Yeah.
Wow. Are you Habs fan?
Oh, shattered.
Fuck the
No, I
Canucks.
just don't feel like clean up glass, but that's why because it's fucking so hot in Kelowna. I'm in my basement where it's all cement. Just one knock.
What'd you do? Just toss it to the ground?
I literally just knocked over and it broke. That's how fragile it is.
I'm glad it wasn't one of your Mario glasses. I'd rather a Canucks glass than a Mario glass.
Yeah, not my glass though.
But yeah, overall, I'm excited to just jump in to the spoiler stuff. And yeah, Travis Snell, what do you think of the episode?
Oh, just clean up glass here at 1 a.m. in the morning. I loved it. It was great. I was not worried, but how it started, it was really slow, and it did give me that kind of feeling of like, man, we only got 2 left, and what are we doing here? And it was all good stuff. I think as the shows, most of the MCU shows have been doing this already, but this show has been great at the character work. So we see certain characters, almost all of them that are our main players, get flushed out, whether they're good or bad. And I think they've done a really good job with that. But I think the back half, it really starts to get going. I would say all in the game says production design and score is top notch. I would agree for the most part. The only thing I'll disagree is there's one certain set piece that looked very prequel Star Wars. So we talked about last week how there was some CGI stuff going on where it's like, oh, sometimes it doesn't look the greatest. There is definitely one set piece in this where I was like, ugh, this needed another once over. This needed a little bit more budget. And that usually doesn't happen with the MCU shows, the Marvel, like just these guys. So I don't know why it had to expand further on MCU shows. The only one we have, because sorry, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you don't count. So other than that, I don't have really cons. The last 10 minutes of this episode, though, was just going full throttle. It was hit after hit, twist after twist, and I think it sets it up for a really good episode 5. And then who knows with episode 6. I think I know where it's going to be all going, and I'll share that when we get into spoilers. But I think they did a good job. I think Hiddleston is it reminds me a lot of like what's her name, Elizabeth Olsen, how we always knew she was good, but he just continues to be great every single week, and he gets to show some new layers in this episode, which I think is very fun. And there's a couple good gags in here that I really like that I was not expecting. Like I think this episode out of all of them had that like main event big feeling. It's the same thing as like, obviously, I hate to always refer to this, we got Ralph Boner, but like when Quicksilver did show up, that felt like it's like, whoa, this is a huge thing going on. And not saying anything multiverse happened to this, it's just this episode had a few of these where it's like, okay, this is we're wearing the big girl, big boy pants right now. This is what we've been building towards. So I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I think I may have a few cons, but nothing huge. It's my favorite. It's tough because I love the slow character stuff of last week, but as far as just big moments, this one really delivered. So I think it's kind of a toss-up right now between this week and last week. But if I have to give the edge, it might be this week, just because it had, like I said, a few moments where it's like, man, I'm really enjoying that this is happening. So anything non-spoilers we want to say before we get into this?
No.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our first ad break, and then after that, we're going to be back talking about everything, talking about our nicknames. Taylor's, I'm sure, going to say a few things or two, but ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. And we're back. So, Taylor, I know you want to probably take your victory lap, and you can, but were you a little sad today that you saw that scene that we all thought was New York, and we all saw that scene where we thought he was talking to Black Widow in the trailer, like, remember, like, a year ago, and it's like, oh, no, it's not her. He was just talking to Sylvie. You don't remember that? No. Well, you should say no for the listeners. They can't see your head shake.
No.
Okay, continue on. Fast.
Yeah, I'm just ecstatic. Again, that was my go-to prediction, was that we're getting Wizard of Oz, and sure enough, that's what happened. I was like a little hesitant because I was like, okay, they're moving pretty good, and I'm kind of like getting sold, like, okay, maybe it's not, but like, yeah, as soon as that head went off and the robot cling clang, I'm like, yes. Oh, it feels so good. Feels so good to have that victory. But the whole time when they were standing there, I didn't feel like it was safe. I thought, okay, either Sylvie or Loki's gonna get pruned. It really felt like it because there were still guys alive and they were just emphasizing it, and it had me really believe that Loki was gone. And we're just gonna get Sylvie, which I totally would have been okay with, because again, after this episode and her origin, like, I'm just loving Sylvie. She was just wrongfully abducted from her timeline for whatever reasons, because I don't believe she committed anything just for existing. I mean,
It's
why
crime enough.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Like, are people gonna break down my door? Taylor, you exist. We're gonna arrest you.
Said Nexus event happens during this cast.
Just
Just a little like portal opens up behind you.
What's going on?
They just destroy all of GeekVerse, all the 6 years of hard work, finally paying off. Like,
I just
gone.
like blink. I'm at Target. It's like, what?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Welcome, Kirklin. We're gonna be here for years. Yeah, no, you can take Victor Lap, but like I was saying this to Kirklin off air, a broken clock is right twice a day, and Taylor every once in a while is broken, or actually he's broken all the time.
I'm just broken every once in a while.
No, every once in a while.
Don't put that on my wedding speech, please.
And you were the first one that I did hear that theory. I heard other people talk about, but you were the first one. So yeah, it made sense. And honestly, I'm glad it went that route, because you say they were like looking all fine and dandy. I will disagree. They were looking rough.
I don't mean CGI. I meant like the fact they were like alive, like living wise. CGI wise, it was definitely not there.
And I think it kind of works now, because they could literally be like, well, the robots are supposed to look a little fakey. So it's like, yeah, okay. Like, I can headcanon that now to be like, well, that's why they look so shitty. But at the time when I was watching it, I was like, fuck, this is not good. Like, they look so cheesy. This is looking like some of the Mandalorian's really bad stuff. And I still don't think it looks so great. But like I said, because they're androids, I can headcanon and go, okay, they're fake. But I thought that was a great reveal, because also too, I will say, in all the game points about it being the volume, the MCU, yeah, they do use that. That room did not feel like a real room. That's the only thing. Like, so I was worried. So I was loving everything up to that point, and then we got in there. It's like, this is the timekeepers, right? This is supposed to be a huge thing. So here we go. So when we walk up, I see them. I'm like, I'm not digging that. The room looks like they're definitely just in a fake platform somewhere. And then the other thing I didn't like was, I felt the action was like really lame. Like, I felt like
100%. No, 100%.
Choreography was just like nothing cool was happening. It was just a lot of them walking around circles, catching the spears, and especially because it's like these spears that could literally just disintegrate people. The guys aren't even like leading with them. They're just like, it didn't make any sense. Like, whoever did that scene, no, I didn't, because I've heard that thrown against this series a few times, that the action's not that good. And as I've watched it over, I say, oh yeah, it's not the greatest. But there was one fight scene last week where Sylvie was like running up a guy and she flipped off a wall. I was like, oh, there's some moments, but this fight's like, this whole climactic part was not good. But then once we got the twist reveal of, oh, they're fake and it is a Wizard of Oz situation, I was back into it, because almost the room again could feel like, oh, it's fake because this whole thing's fake. And then we got Sylvie and Loki talking. He was literally going to admit that he loves her for the first time and stuff like that, which we'll talk about that. That's a great moment. And then, like Taylor said, when he got evaporated, I gasped. I was like, oh my goodness. Now 30 seconds later, even before I got the end credits, I'm like, there's no way he's actually gone, just because I feel like, are we going to spend all this time developing this new Loki, and then like, oh, we're going to start with a new one? And plus, we'd seen in the preview, like, he has the scene where he's the president. Like, there's still more stuff to come. So it's like, he's coming back somehow. But for 30 seconds, they had me. I was like, holy shit, the next 2 episodes is going to be Sylvie. Obviously, we've got end credit scene, which we'll talk about. Kirklin, what did you feel about? We're just jumping from the end is the beginning of the beginning. What did you feel about the timekeepers reveal, all that stuff going on?
Yeah, so just like, first of all, when they enter the room, I actually quite like the look of the room. Now again, this is me kind of being tired and watching it, so I wasn't like dissecting like, oh okay, yeah, this looks super green screeny. I just saw like the smoke and like the red like lights that they had. I'm like, hey, this is a pretty cool design of a room.
Kirklin loves smoke.
But but no, that like the fighting choreography, it honestly like took me out of it. Like I wasn't even like that interested in the fight. It seemed so cheesy. It seemed
Yes.
like, oh, here, take my sword now, and I'll handle this person. And it was just
It
like
didn't feel like they're in
so
danger at
no,
all.
100%. And that like it honestly took me out of it, like so much so where I felt like when Loki got like bopped, like I just didn't even like react because I don't like obviously it happened really quick, and then I didn't see the end credit scene until Travis mentioned it, and then I went back to rewatch it. But because at the time, again, I had the same thought. It's like, okay, well, I've seen the trailer. I know that there's scenes that I haven't seen yet. Obviously, he's not dead. So I felt like just that entire like it's supposed to be like the climax of the episode, and I just
Mhm.
really wasn't impressed with it. I feel like that's why I was kind of like unsure on how I felt on the episode as a
Yeah.
whole, because that was the ending, and then it ended, and I'm like, oh, okay. But I will say, when they were just entering the when they're entering the throne room there, I honestly thought it was going to go to credits. I was very surprised that we had like the whole
Yes.
fight with the timekeepers, the whole Wizard of Oz situation where they are just like robots. I mentioned to Travis offcast, I was just like thinking of Taylor. I'm like, oh, he's probably just like hooraying right now. Totally good on you for that prediction there. Because that was a good moment. I feel like that was my favorite moment of that entire sequence.
I was the same as you. I'm like, man, they're gonna fucking cut off when this door opens. I'm gonna have to wait till next week. And I'm glad they didn't, because obviously there's a big setup for next week. But I just like I liked the episode, but sometimes you gotta deliver, right? There's sometimes where a cliffhanger is warranted, and there's sometimes where you gotta show the goods. I think this was a show the goods moment, and obviously, like maybe it wasn't the greatest goods, but I think if they would have cut away, I would have been like, okay, like another week, because I think lots of big stuff did happen this episode. I think it was really interesting, but I feel like this, like for the episode to really stand out, it needed this moment, and it's great because now we got this reveal of okay, yeah, so he gets zapped. We'll talk about that in a second. Sylvie gets a Renslayer and said, "You're gonna tell me everything you know," because they're like, well, who did create the TVA? It's very interesting what's gonna happen, because I feel like next episode's gonna be Loki doing some multiverse stuff or meeting some other Lokis and everything like that, because we'll get in the end credit scene probably next. But I think episode 5 is gonna be about him trying to get back to Sylvie, and then episode 6 will be like about Sylvie or like about the ending of this show. Like I don't think you'll see much plot progression in episode 5, but I think you're gonna have a really fun time. You know, him trying to get out of this kind of oasis. It's very much like what is it, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, you know, Jack Sparrow dealing with a bunch of Jack Sparrows trying to get back home. And I feel like that's what we're gonna get, is Loki trying to get back to Sylvie. But what do you guys think do you think we're gonna get an answer, but what do you think is gonna happen with this TVA reveal eventually? Like I said, I don't think it'll be next week, but Taylor, do you think, because everyone's throwing up the flag, you know, they're saying, oh, it's gonna happen. I'm not on board, as far as I do not think we're gonna see him, but I think Kang the Conqueror is probably the clear answer right here, as far as she may not even say his name, but especially because she is a love interest of Kang, I feel like they're going to allude to maybe he created this to try and help sustain some timelines. I don't know, but I think you're going to get some allusions to him. I will say I don't think you're going to see him in the series. I really don't. I think they'll save that for a movie, but maybe I'm wrong. Where's your head at that, Taylor? Do you think we find out? Do you think who do you think it is? What do you think is going to happen? And whether it's next week or the week after?
I think at this rate, I think episode 6, there's a high chance we'll see it. I think you're gonna I think whether it's a post credit scene, whatnot, I don't know. But I think you're gonna see him.
Really?
I do. I think that with her in the show, like she's totally leading the charge. Like she is obviously like the voice of the TVA, as we could see in the past episodes, how everyone will report to her. But it just goes to show, like, she's got her own agenda. She's got everyone's blind loyalty, and it'll be interesting to see how things accelerate at this point. Like, what is she going to tell Sylvie? What's she going to confide in her with? Like, I feel like, again, she could say, like, yeah, the timekeepers. Obviously they're not real, and it's just one like King the Conqueror and all that stuff. Like it'll be. I think there's gonna be name drops, and then I think we'll get.
He was created in the '60s by Marvel Comics.
Yeah. I think we'll get name drop, and then I think we'll get him in the final episode.
Wow,
as a cameo, I think, as post credits.
I think that the whole post credits 15 minutes of just him like, I love time travel, but no, like when you said
monologuing,
yeah, I'm gonna kill all the Avengers. When you're saying like, oh, you don't know what she's gonna say to Sylvie, I think Sylvie is gonna use some of that enchantment and take a look back at her mind instead of Judge Reinhold, like Renslayer. So Reinhold, that's someone else. That's the guy from fucking Santa Claus. Judge Renslayer. I think that she's gonna enchant her, and maybe you see like a silhouette of Kang or his voice. I think you'll show that's how they met, and then maybe they'll show. People have pointed out that Jonathan Majors, he was casted really early. Like, I think Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania is just starting to film, or it's about to. Like, it hasn't been that much. So it's like he was cast months and months ago. So people are like, there might have been a reason for that. We talked about this on the newscast, right, of will this have ramifications for the big movies or any movies? And it's like, if Kang the Conqueror is around, I do think he's going to be Avengers level threat, and that would be a big thing for the show to introduce. It's like if Thanos would have been introduced on a Disney Plus show. So, Kirklin, where are you? Are you kind of on board that you think, lots of theories saying it's Kang the Conqueror? Obviously, we'll have to tie time travel. Renslayer is in there, but do you think if it is him, we will see him in this series?
I think if we do see him, it would be like the first time that we saw Thanos, where it's just like his throne turns. It's like, oh shit,
scene.
Yeah, the exact same scene. I feel like it would be something similar to that. Just to like get us like, oh, okay, he's gonna be the new villain. Oh my gosh, okay, here we go.
They just play the Thanos end credit scene again, though, like the exact same one. Or like, what the fuck? Like, we beat him. Like, okay, he's back. Great, I'd be so pissed if they're just like, yeah, Thanos created the TV. I'd be like, what the fuck are we doing here? We just spent an Infinity Saga, but yeah, okay. So like a little glimpse, just like, this is the dude. Like maybe she name drop him, and then this is the dude.
Yeah, nothing more than that. I don't think.
Yeah.
Like you got to think like when Thanos was like just like hinted, and then he was just sprinkled in a few movies before the big build up. I feel like.
But my point with Thanos is like that was Avengers, their biggest movie at this point. This is Loki, which obviously now with viewers, that's their highest show right now. But it's like it's I guess the difference is he is going to be an Ant-Man coming up. So I still think that in Ant-Man, he is going to have the size of a role that Thanos had in Guardians, maybe a bit bigger, but I don't think he is the main villain. I think he's one of many. So I think that maybe that's where you get some more view, but him debuting on a show would be big. That would be, or what people might not want to hear, or that means he debuts on a show and he's an Ant-Man, but maybe he's just an Ant-Man. Like maybe we were thinking Kang's going to be this next big Avengers threat, but maybe he's just like a one-off, like he's just a guy. Like Red Skull's technically an Avengers level threat in the comics, but he's just rocking a fucking, on a mountain in a cape. So it's like maybe Kang's the same. Maybe he's just for Loki and Ant-Man, and then we move on. So
yeah, possible. So
speaking about moving on, we thought we might be moving on from Loki to Sylvie, but no, he got, I don't know, vaporized, whatever. And so far in the show, we've just seen that maybe this kills them, this prunes them, this gets rid of them. But it seems, I don't know if it's just Loki, but I think this will be the case with all of them, just because I also thought, like, really? We're already losing Owen Wilson? Like, that is shocking. But it's seeming like this vaporization takes them to just like a different dimension, almost just like a wasteland or something like that. And we had Loki wake up. I love the first thing. He's like, this is hell. And it's like, did I die? He's like, no. You hear a voice saying, no, but you will if you don't come with us. And what it is, it's old Loki. So it's Richard E. Grant, the great Richard E. Grant. Kid Loki, which I'm so glad we read that comic book. Got our comic version. So we got him. And then the Thor, I don't know. That is showing my comic book knowledge as far as Thor is never one of my main like guys that I can name you this. So I don't know if that is a version of Loki who becomes Thor. Or like gets Mjolnir. I don't know if that's another version of Thor. I would actually like it to be a version of Thor because I think that would be kind of fun, especially because we'll talk about Sylvie after, but like we learned that she maybe didn't have that much interaction with Thor. We've not seen Thor had much mention of him. So if we got this variant Thor, I think that could be lots of fun. So Kirkland, what do you think about this end credit scene? Obviously, we're gonna probably know a lot more next week, but it seems like he's bumping into a few other variant versions of himself.
Yeah, so like I said, I didn't see this like right away. So like when the episode ended, I was just like, oh, that was kind of a shitty fight scene. I'm curious when we see Loki back again. So when I did watch it, it was like, holy shit, Kid Loki in there. That's something that like I feel like that was a wish list item that I just kind of figured I wasn't gonna get in the show, but I'm so pumped. Like I I feel like he'll probably just be a minor role, but at the same time, it's just cool to see him on screen. And then, like because that's like the comic book, like
that's
suit,
the OG,
right? Like
Loki,
it's so cool to see that. And then, like the different like Thor interpretation, it just looks so cool to me. Like the like Mjolnir, it just looks like a wrench or something. Like it just looks so like scrapyard Thor, but I really like it. And again, it's one of those things. It's just like, okay, what are we doing now? I just want to know more about this. So I thought that was a really, really good end credit scene. And
much like the Vision and Wanda costumes in the Halloween episode, seeing Richard Grant in that thing, holy fuck, he looked ridiculous. Like in a good way, but like I had to pause and look like, man, like he looks fucking silly as shit. Like, but it's great. Like that's just awesome that like they go and they take the very first design of Loki pretty much and they put in here because this is a character I imagine we're not gonna see again, in my opinion. That does make me worry for Kid Loki because I like the Kid Loki storyline and I go, is this gonna be one off? But who knows with these shows? Maybe it spins off. But Taylor, what did you feel about this end credit scene? Obviously a big one. I think it's going to get people quite excited for next week.
Oh, I think, we're getting like Loki's army. It's coming. And seeing, like, I'm looking at a screenshot of it now. Yeah, like Kid Loki holding like the alligator Loki.
with
I'm
the horns.
curious what is like the deal is with that. That's just so random but cool. And yeah, Richard E. Grant just rocking that OG costume is just great. It's so great. I would cosplay as that totally. And again, the mashup of Thor Loki is such a cool looking concept because it looks like it's a piece of railroad that's been like spliced into like a giant wrench. Like it's just the most interesting looking tool.
And he's like the Viking shoulder pads. It looks great.
So you got to be at least like a little worthy to carry that Mjolnir. You don't have to be fully worthy because it's not as nice.
Well, the way that guy dresses, he's definitely worthy. All in the game says Kid Loki is part of Young Avengers they're setting up. So Kid Loki does go into the Young Avengers. Maybe, because it's just tough. Like, I don't know this kid. So the same thing of like, is this just a one-off and it's like, let's just get a kid actor and have some fun in this episode? Or like I said, is this setting something up? Is this setting up for him to come in our universe somehow? I don't know. I think we'll get that answer next week. I think we'll know when we watch it. Oh, this is just a one-off, or okay, we could see these people down the line. It's kind of like what people were saying about Black Widow, right? Like Florence Pugh is like, like no one's spoiling it, but I just feel like everyone's kind of like, okay, we'll probably see her again in the future. Like she's being groomed to be the next Black Widow. I think we'll get that sense of this Loki or not, or maybe it's just a hit. I don't know, but I would like that as long as this kid's a good actor. I would love to see Kid Loki. We obviously with comic versions we cover Journey in the Mystery, and I just love that idea of Kid Loki, this guy trying to redeem himself. I still think Taika would have so much fun with a Kid Loki character, so I hope so. Richard E. Grant, I think he's a one-off. I think he's a one and done. And the Thor guy, I don't know because I just need to know more about him.
Do you know the actor of this Kid Loki? Because like looking at him, I really like his demeanor. I don't know what it is, but I just see him. I think God, he's gonna be such a badass Loki variant. It's just like his aesthetic he's putting out and his energy and that stance, like it just looks awesome.
That stance, he's literally just kneeling.
I know, but it's just all the shot.
In our group chat, you're like, should have been the thumbnail. Oh yeah, we wouldn't got no should have shown the end credits in the thumbnail. Yeah, that would have been tons of fun. But yeah, I think next week's gonna be that's when we'll finally get Taylor. I'm sure you can make that thumbnail. Get ready. I think we'll finally get the vote Loki, President Loki, stuff like that. I think we're gonna get multiple versions of them. We've been waiting for that kind of wacky, fun, what if multiverse episode, and we were waiting for that in WandaVision. We never got it because we got Ralph Bohner, and then we were waiting for it with this because we thought we were gonna see Destroyed New York and maybe Black Widow and stuff like this. But now it seems like okay, this is gonna be the potential crazy multiverse episode. I'm not expecting to bump bump into Toby. I'm just expecting, let's just have a fucking fun time. And that image at the end, to me, that looks like a fucking fun time. Like, I'm sure we might meet some more, but even if we're just like meet the stories of these 4 if you count the reptile, that right there is like, okay, we're gonna have a good time here. And like I said, even how does he become, Loki? And maybe I think, Taylor, you're right that maybe Sylvie gets in some trouble and he shows up with like a portal scene, but instead of a bunch of heroes, it's just a bunch of fucking Lokis, and that'd be great. Like, or what if we're in a version where it's like Sylvie and Loki? What I've pitched for Thor, like a 4. What if they're doing, like, they're trying to raise Kid Loki together? Like something like that. Like, all these cards are on the table, so I'm really intrigued what we're going to get next week with this episode. I think next week we'll get some plot points, but I think next week is going to be very just a fun adventure one.
Maybe he just forms his own Avengers team. I don't even know what you would call that. I mean,
Avengers.
The Avengers. I would love to see a scene of just, again, it's too late now because we got, well, not too late, but just to see Iron Man, Steve Rogers, like Thor, all that, and then like out of the portals come the Avengers and just like their reaction to that. Yeah, so good.
Like, who are these fucking Lokis? I do hope though that this Loki does somehow make it back to the main timeline, not right away, but in a few years. And I would love to see, I know everyone's gonna be like, oh, we've seen it so many times, but I would love to see him meet up with Thor and see Thor's reaction to, one, all these Lokis, but two, just like Loki was starting to redeem Ragnarok, but this is like he's even more redeemed than he was in Ragnarok, because he cries twice in this episode. I know he cried in the first episode, but like he cries over Sylvie, and he was pretty upset when Mobius got the stick, like, and he referred to him as a friend. So it's like, I legitimately feel like in Thor Ragnarok, it felt like he was redeeming himself because like he owed it to his brother. This feels like the first time we're seeing like hero Loki, which I like, because it's like we had almost 10 years of him being a villainous guy, right? So I really loved all this stuff they did with him. I think Tom Hiddleston did a good job of being the like crying wolf character in the interrogation, when he makes this whole story about how he met Sylvie, and then when he says she's dead, which I feel like Loki should have been smart enough, but he's emotional, so that's why he didn't get it. But I love that he's really, like I said, for Sylvie and Mobius, he was really concerned, and I like seeing the growth of this character, that he's not that selfish guy anymore. There might be some times, but it's like now he's selfish in the way of trying to help others or help the ones he cares about. So what do you think about Loki in this episode, Kirklin? Like I said, he went through a lot. He was chained up a lot for most of it, but he shared a little handshake or a hand holding with Sylvie, which creates a nexus point, which there's my told you so, Taylor, because I did say right away, I'm like, these two are going to get it on, and I'm very happy we got a very...
Oh, let's do it.
We got a very Kylo Ray situation. Like, they're a dyad. They're like linked together. Like, their love is gonna, like, what's gonna happen when they bang? Just holding hands create this nexus point. It's gonna that's gonna destroy the universe. That's how imagine that's how Doctor Strange is like, yeah, how all these Spider-Men got here? No, I don't know what happened. Well, these two Lokis found each other and they just banged it out, and that's how Tobey Maguire is here.
Well, that's not how Thanos died when Iron Man snapped his fingers. It was the same time that Loki like banged Sylvie.
Climax. Yeah.
I'm inevitable. So yeah, like, this is definitely the most emotional I've seen Loki like on screen throughout the show, and I feel like there's certain moments that just, like, I feel like it's sort of out of character for like Loki's. I mentioned that I think in last week's episode. I just felt like there's some decisions that he made that just felt out of character for me personally, and like there was some more of them in this episode as well. Like what you just mentioned, when he had this whole plan, like he's being like a silver tongued devil again, talking to Mobius, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, we killed her." He's like, "What?" like he just seems like such a goofball when it's like, dude, you're the I feel like he's just not being portrayed as like just like a god, which he shouldn't be, because he is a prisoner in this instance, like he is, no power. So like it does make sense, but I feel like for me it's just maybe not the easiest to digest, because I feel like I have one expectation for the character and then I get something different, and then it just kind of takes me out of it a bit.
Does it help at all to you that, like, I guess for me, how I sometimes try to headcanon, because I agreed last week for sure there was times where it
When
was
he's
like,
just being a
he,
drunk and he's just like being ridiculous.
Whereas, like, I get because some people are like, well, he's from Asgard and he likes to drink. And it's like, yeah, but like the fate of his life is online. I don't know. But this one, I guess the only reason I sometimes headcanon is one, obviously, like when we got that in the first episode, him seeing his whole life, that could have changed him. But I do think, as he said, he's never experienced this. And I think everyone can attribute when you're in love, you think a lot differently. So,
True.
I will say this: I'm still down for them being a couple. Get on, you know, how I am in these shows and stuff. I love the shipping. Is it a little quick? Yes, I think
100%.
and I think that is a flaw of the show. Where I think I could buy his character change a lot more if they were together a little longer. But they are literally together for a night. That's about it. Now you can make the case that it's himself. He knows himself 100%. You can headcanon it. True. I just wish that maybe there was one more episode and maybe some time difference. But if I go with, okay, either way, he's in love. That's how, I guess, for me, I could headcanon. It's like, oh, this is why he's acting so erratic and he's believing Mobius. It's just because, well, he's in love and we do stupid things. So,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's the strongest written.
Yeah, no, like for sure. I do agree with you to the point where, you know, when you are thinking about someone that you love, like you do think about, you think differently than you would normally, but like what you just mentioned, like I just felt like it's so rushed and like it was, yeah, that was another thing that was kind of hard to digest, was just like the quickness of it. Again, you're constrained to 6 episodes, so you if they want to do the whole shipping, like it's gonna be quick, even if it started in episode 1 and ended episode 6. I feel like it'll still be quick.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I guess we'll have to see what happens throughout the end of the show. But just like them being together, I absolutely love. Like when Owen Wilson was like talking about like, oh, this like weird sick fantasy you have, like loving yourself. It's like, fuck yeah, dude. That like we were talking about that last week. That's like the perfect situation. So like that, all that stuff was fun, and I do think that they have good on screen chemistry together. So that's fun as well. But yeah, I feel like I might just have to sit on it a little bit to see how I really feel, or maybe like when I'm watching the show again, I'll like it more or less.
When Loki put his hands on Sylvie, do you get the sense that
On the
Sylvie
planet?
knew? No. When they were after the timekeepers scenario, and he was about to, he got pruned. You don't think she suspected what he's gonna say?
No, she looked pretty oblivious to me. So
Okay.
I think that he still needs to reveal it, and we'll see what happens when he does reveal it. I hope it doesn't blow up in his face and she just was tricking him, or something like that.
She'll look at Richard E. Grant. She'll be all over him.
Yeah,
that's my kind of Loki.
Yeah. So well, we'll see. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take our second ad break, and then we're going to keep talking some Loki. So we'll be right back. We're back. Taylor, did you have anything more to say on Loki in this episode? Obviously, he went through a lot. He lost Mobius. He lost Sylvie. Then he got her back. He got phased out. Obviously, we saw the end credit scene. But what did you think about Loki in this episode?
I loved him. Like, I just thought it was such a crazy journey for him. He really he broke down, and I love seeing him at his core. Like, he found someone that, again, he loves. Again, it's himself, but it just makes sense. And when he was bullshitting and saying like, oh, I'll just have to offer at some point, and then Mobius just said like, yeah, she's been pruned, like he just snapped out of it. And the whole time him just, yes, he's so much into lying all the time, but he was just trying to really convey the truth. And when he just raged and said like, you're all variants, like I love that. I loved how he was just like getting pissed, like how did you not understand this and see this? And it's just, there was so much emotion in it, and I just loved Loki stepping out of what he used to be in terms of just trying to look for the next best thing of power. But in this, it just felt like he's not fighting for the greater cause. But even when he looks at Mobius as like, you can trust a friend instead of trust. I got to trust 2 Lokis. Like, you can trust a friend. I love how mature he's becoming. And this is within days of him trying to take over New York, but his transition is just great. And I love
how
it.
mature he's falling in love in a day. Mobius is his friend after like a few days as well. Like he's really just like clinging on to anybody, so.
Well, and I'll let that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kirkland.
No, you can go on.
I was just gonna say, I'll let that kind of segue to the moment when we get Civ, the great lady Civ returning, and just how he's that one moment where she just looks at him and says like, you like you're alone and you'll always be alone. Like that's just so heavy. And then he's losing these people around him, and that just carries a lot of weight. He thought after that he thought he lost Sylvie, and then he loses Mobius. So it just really, it's a lot of weight on him for him to go through like who knows how many hours of Civ saying you're going to be alone,
And the nut shot.
got nut shot too.
Yeah.
That was a gag. So I was, Lady Sif pops up. I'm like, oh, this is great. Haven't seen her since Thor Dark World. That's awesome. So I was excited for that. And then I was like, okay, I like this idea of living bad memories. I guess maybe I was a little disappointed first because I thought we were going to get multiple memories. But then I was like, there's no way they can do that. Like, that's way too expensive. So then we got this. And it's a gag that I liked enough. But as it kept going on, I liked it more and more. And when they would just cut back to Tom Hiddleston and he would just be sitting on the ground, like exhausted from just getting kneed in the nuts over and over, like it really started to get me. And I really liked that first time when he made the speech when he's like, I'm a narcissist and that means I love attention because I don't want to be alone. I was like, definitely times in my life where I could attribute to that and definitely understand that motive of thinking. But then he gives this heartfelt speech and she's like, yeah, I understand. And she like is like consoling him by like putting her hands on his shoulder, but that just led to her still nut shotting him, and like it worked its way around to like really get me. So that was fun little cameo because I like that gives it a little more connectivity to the movies. Yes, it's connected, but it's always good when you have a cameo from another actor in that world because it just doesn't just feel like, oh, this is secluded and it feels like a TV show. So yeah, I think that I really liked the bad memory prison. I don't know if we'll see that again, but it was a good little idea.
Yeah, I really, really like that. And like when he was like, I forget what he said specifically, but again, he was like on his knees, like just saying all the things that you think would like be the right things to say in that situation. And then she still is just like, you're right. Like you are alone and you are forever going to be alone. I'm like, Jesus, this is just sad now. Like it went from being, just like kneeing in the nuts, it's kind of funny getting some laughs, but then it just got like real heavy. It's like, holy shit. Okay. This is sad. And then she's going to come back again. And if he says the exact same thing that he just said, I guess he won't get kneed in the nuts, but
yeah. Let's talk about Mobius because he had a big, I would say, highlight in this episode. Obviously, he was gone last week, so this kind of made up for it. I really liked everything they did with him. Everything as far as him slowly starting to figure it out. Loki giving him little details. I loved every interaction he had with Renslayer. Of just this felt like an episode of Law and Order or NYPD Blue, of like him slowly piecing together, him using his interrogation skills, and just her story not lining up. The other, what's her name? Is it B-17? I think that other agent is something like that.
B-15.
Like B-15. She's starting to ask questions. He finds out the C-20 agent was just executed pretty much because she's just like, oh yeah, she lost speech and consciousness. We couldn't do anything for her. I loved that moment when he's switched the temp pads. That was so cool. Like, oh, where are you putting this trophy? Like, Owen Wilson just like sold that scene so well, being very believable. He also reminded me very much of Dylan Musk in that scene. I don't know why, but just his cadence, I was like, that's Dylan right there. But like how he switched them, and obviously like the cool reveal of seeing her being interrogated, she taught. So like, I love this slow little. The first two episodes were much more like this, especially the first one. This kind of mystery, like noir type of detective show. And we got that again with him interrogating Loki in the back and forth. But then we got that on his own, like him starting, even before Loki had said they're lying to you, he was starting to seem suspicious. But then once Loki said they're lying to you, that really got him going. And then everything kind of added up to another. And now he knows he's a variant that was living the jet ski life, but now he's gone. Maybe he's back down there with Loki and maybe he'll be saved. But I really liked everything they did with Mobius in this episode. And Owen Wilson did a really good job.
Yeah, I quite liked him as well. There was one moment that, again, it was running along that same sort of issue I had with like Loki, and it just seemed like an out of character thing for him to do, or maybe it was just like very sudden. But like I felt like the whole Mobius just all of a sudden being like, okay, like I've been lied to by both you Lokis up until this point, and now. Even in this episode, I'm being lied to by you guys again, but I'm just going to trust the two Lokis. Like, I felt like that whole just huge shift to him just being a loyalist to TVA, to a hardcore, like, against them. I felt like that was a little too sudden. Now, again,
that video
exactly.
Probably put him over the edge. Yeah.
That video... Yeah,
that's damning. When
for sure.
When she literally says she couldn't form words, and then there's an interrogation video of her like completely like saying what Loki's saying, and then also audibly talking a lot. It's like, well, fuck. She's like, and like, did you get the vibe when she said that he was gonna go up and meet the timekeepers for the pruning of the Lokis? That
Oh, it's not good. Yeah.
yeah, that's the same way I took it. I'm like, man, he will not make it out of scenario. So I feel like they're already planning his demise, and maybe he was getting a little sniff of that.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. And I feel like maybe my issues with it, it's not like the reason why he would like be sus on it, but maybe it's just the timing. Like maybe if these were just sprinkled in throughout and he was just doing his own digging, like on his own, maybe an episode beforehand. We didn't see him in the last episode, but maybe like we just got something of him being a little bit suspicious. And then no, let's just put it in the back of my mind. Like that's not true. The TVA made me. Maybe that would have helped me more. And again, maybe I'm just thinking too much into it. But I don't know. I just thought when he came through the portal and it's like, now I'm trusting 2 Lokis, blah, blah, blah. Like I felt like it was so different from where he was earlier on. Now, you know, you did mention that video was very damning. So I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things I just got to rewatch it and see how I feel on it. But I feel like those moments where they're just like the characters are just switching their like ideology like so fast. It's just tough. And again, it's only a 6-episode series. So it is going to seem pretty quick, even though the episodes are close to an hour. But that was just the one thing I kind of had an issue with. But overall, I just love seeing Mobius. I was pretty heartbroken when he died because I thought it was actually like a realistic death. I thought like I don't know. I think I just always figured Mobius wasn't going to make it out of the series. I felt like it would just be a fun time to have Owen Wilson in the show, you know, have fun with him, and then he's just gone out of the MCU. So I felt like when he died, he was really dead. And I mean, up until this point, we didn't see him, so maybe he is dead. But I feel like everyone that got pruned, they're in their own little wherever Loki is.
So a bunch of Mobiuses just walking around.
I don't know. Like is it just one? Like I don't know, hell wherever he is. Like is Loki's just the Lokis, and then is Mobius just a bunch of jet skis or something? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Yeah, or maybe it's just one world. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough call. Taylor, what do you think of this? What do you think of Mobius this episode?
I feel like, I mean, I have no problems with it. I think you do make a good point, Kirkland. His transition was a little bit expedited, but in terms of his development, I like how the seeds of his transfer, I guess you could say, kind of were laid. I like how his deception was just so quick, how he just swapped out like the data pad with the leader lady. And I just thought that was very timely.
The
leader lady. And I liked how he was watching
Renslayer.
He was watching the footage of just that other like CO22, whatever her name was, just get
C20.
C20. CO22. Yeah, it's just, I thought it was very cool. And I liked that tension of that scene where he comes out with Loki and they're all just standing outside and he just tries to brush it off like, oh, like, what are you guys doing here? Like, oh yeah, I realized that while I was coming out. Like, yeah, I took the wrong one. Like,
yeah, I didn't know till I was all the way down there.
Yeah, like I like how he played it off because he felt totally genuine and true. But yeah, when he got pruned, I was shocked. I was like, wow. Like when I saw that happen. And Kirkland didn't pick up on that. What a shame. I was just
wow.
Is that your impersonation of him? Is that how he sounds?
Kirkland sound more like Waluigi or Wario.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I was genuinely sad, and I do anticipate his return at some point. I think whether or not the TVA happens, I don't think that they're gonna go and try to like, hey, we got a better and brighter TVA. I think they're gonna send Owen Wilson back to his timeline, and he'll be riding his jet ski. I guarantee we get a scene of him riding his jet ski in this series. So.
I agree, 100%. It has to happen. You know, can't not happen. Where else did we want to go here?
Quickly touch upon C15. I felt like out of anyone, she was the one that I kind of never was going to assume that she would be the one that would like go against the TVA. Just because like she gets introduced as like the super loyalist, like, you know, like the tough brute that'll do whatever it takes just because she's on the side of the TVA. So I thought that was kind of a cool character to transfer, and then she like takes Sylvie to whatever that supermart is, and then like kind of, you know, gets her to explain to her what happened, and then
Yeah.
I still feel like that whole reveal with her could have been done a little bit better, like whether if they actually like go into her memory and that they're showing like a happy memory, and then and because I feel like that would just be a little bit darker to the whole effect of what the TVA is doing to these people, to these variants, because like yeah, no, good performance from her, like showing emotion, like, oh, I looked so happy in it, but like I think if we just got like her actually in the memory, and then all of a sudden it's like she's being taken away from that happy memory, and then it goes like to where she is just working as a TVA agent, like I feel like that would just be so much darker. Again, that would obviously take more time away from the episode to do that, but I still feel like the overall her character switching was kind of cool, because it was just one I wasn't really expecting from the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I'd agree. I thought she was just gonna be the hard ass the whole time, but
Yeah,
she
and just
started
like
having
one note.
questions. Yeah. Let's see. The only note I have is I really like the line of when we didn't talk about this yet, but Sylvie, they showed her scene of her being taken. She's, I guess, now officially a Loki, because there's this debate of like, is she a different character or
Yeah.
whatnot? Like, she's officially a
And she had
Loki.
dark hair. That's
Yeah,
why I
she
was
had
like,
dark.
oh, there you go. She looks like
Yeah.
Loki.
So there's two things that I really liked line wise. Is one, when she was talking Loki before the whirlwind collapsed, she said, I've lived at the ends of 1,000 worlds, which I thought, oh, that's just cool, you know, like, because she realized that's what she has to do, and she's like, man, how many civilizations has she seen just crumble because that's where she's living. But then two, when uh it's the elevator scene going up to timekeepers, it's Loki, Sylvie, and then Renslayer, when she's like telling her whole story about, oh, I got taken in, blah blah blah. But you know, what did you do? Like, what was my nexus point? Like, why did you kidnap me from my timeline? And then
Oh,
Renslayer
yeah.
just goes, I don't even remember. Now, is that true? Is she just bullshit her? Maybe not. I don't know. We'll find out probably next week, or the next 2 weeks, if she was just doing that for dramatic fun. But yeah, that was a really good line. And yeah, it seems they didn't say this, but I feel like it seems that the only reason they took her out of the timeline is because she was a female, not a male, because Loki was born, you know, a male, and then now he's kind of like gender fluid, but as far as he's the son of Odin, so it's like they said that they didn't go get her until they felt that it was a issue what was going on with her timeline. So there's a chance that we might be getting those two shows in the future.
Absolutely. I feel like that is like a good message to tackle too, whether they want to like just go on like we took her out of the timeline because she's just a female, and then you know that could go into like a more like women's rights type situation.
Yeah,
I
thought
feel
that's
like
where they're going in the elevator.
yeah.
But, yeah.
No, 100%. And you mentioned them, like those lines were so phenomenal. Whether it was her, like that shot, which is like what was it, like the planet crashing into the moon, and it's just like impending doom, and then they're just having like the little heart to heart. I was expecting some just full on Mackin or something, not just like a little handhold. But you know, it is Disney, so there you go. But yeah, great line delivery from them, and I am excited to see Sylvie interrogating Renslayer, because I feel like that'll just get cranked up, you know, because like you just mentioned, we got little sprinkles in the elevator of just like I feel like Renslayer does know. I feel like she was just like, fuck you, like you're a worm to me, like I don't have to answer your questions.
I agree.
Yeah. So that was awesome. And I really liked seeing like Asgard and then like Sylvie being taken, like just as a kid, because I felt like we assume she's on the run for a very long time. She mentioned that she's just like constantly running from the TVA, but I felt like just actually seeing her as like an innocent kid, not like someone that was breaking the law or anything. Like she was just playing in her room, and then she's just taken away. Like it just it you know, makes us sympathize for her. And
well, it did a good job recontextualizing the TVA too, because each episode we've learned like a little more about them. But at first when we met them, they're like, oh, they're just good guys trying to protect our timeline. But this was the first time I was like, wow, fuck these guys. Like, why are they taking this kid? Like, it doesn't make so it made sense too, because at the end they're revealed to be a fraud. There's all this stuff. So it made sense in this episode to really double down on their maybe not the greatest the greatest of people to be around. So I did like all that kind of world building in this episode for the TVA.
100%. Taylor, do you have anything to say on anything we just mentioned?
I love that intro scene for Sylvie. I thought it was great, and yeah, it just goes to show just how much like jerks the organization is. How they are, they say like, yeah, the Avengers were supposed to go back in time because that was supposed to happen, and they're saying like, yeah, this is the main timeline. Everything that happens, like we keep things in order and everything like that. It's only because like they're controlling it. They're
Yeah.
not.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're not
100%.
allowing time to naturally flow. They're ensuring the events of things.
Mhm.
So it's very interesting to see that unfold.
What if like the true big bad is actually like Miss Minutes, and she just like is this giant like hologram that they have to fight? That'd throw me for a loop.
I'm fine with the potential for being the villain. I don't know if I need the huge giant hologram, especially after I saw the effects of the timekeepers in this episode. It's like,
It's
don't
like a
bite off
Cuphead
more than you can
villain.
chew. Yeah, yeah. If we animate it like that, then maybe. So
Yeah. I had another note on.
Mhm.
I just loved when Mobius mentioned like, yeah, we brought Kree, we had Titans and vampires. It's like, oh shit, we're getting to Blade. We're getting to
Vampires.
Blade. Let's go. At first, my mind went to Morbius. And
Jared
I'm like,
Leto
oh,
popping
that's
out
it.
of
Yeah,
his
that's a
fucking,
different. It's a different universe. But
get rid of that variant right away. Right away, get rid of it. You know.
it's so exciting to me though. Now we're getting like, obviously I know Blade's coming. It's like my most anticipated Phase 4 film, but at the same time, just hearing it mentioned like in an MCU for the first time, it's like, holy fuck, that's right, we're actually
yeah.
getting there at some point. Like it's so exciting.
He's on the way. He's a variant somewhere, and he's just cutting down people because he doesn't have powers. He just knows swords. He does have powers, but he also has great sword skills. So
Maybe
Uh,
Mahershala Ali's Blade will go into get pruned, and then he just has Wesley Snipes.
yeah. That'd be sometimes a motherfucker
Ryan
just can't
Reynolds.
ice skate uphill. Yeah,
Ryan Reynolds
oh
with the
yeah.
bow. You got like the whole cast. What was the other one? Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel, yeah.
Yeah.
Some motherfuckers just trying to always upskate ice hill. No, what is it? Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. Just such a great saying. Anything else? I've used all my notes for tonight's episode. Do you guys anything to shout before we close this one out?
I don't think so.
No,
I think
Kirklin looked like he was gonna, but no, I think we covered it. We got
we talked about how bad the the timekeepers looked.
yeah, not great.
It's funny too because like when they showed them, I'm like, I don't think they look bad, but I think their voice is wrong. And then I'm like, oh no, everything's just wrong with them.
Yeah, I actually didn't have because I'm in the basement, so I didn't have to worry about sound whatnot. I didn't have subtitles on this episode. I had to put subtitles on when they were talking because there were some times where I didn't understand what the fuck they were saying. Like, I was like, what? What are you talking about? You're the daughter of timekeepers? Like, okay, like it was strange the VO they did for that, but nonetheless, maybe not next week, but the week after we'll get some answers of who created these timekeepers. But yeah, 2 more
100%.
weeks, and next week's gonna be huge because we're having this film multiverse episode, but also Black Widow. So it's gonna be a big MCU popping off. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you thought, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, anywhere you can find us on Patreon, and let us know what you thought about this episode, but also just some theories you may have. Are we seeing Kang next week? Are we seeing any other MCU characters? How's Loki getting back? Who knows? But thank you very much for listening to this episode. And when you hear from us next, it'll not be boring.
Peace.
Bye-bye.